Good morning to all. Myself, Manoj Kumar Bundela, Assistant Professor, Suresh Gyan Vihar University, Jaipur. So today we will discuss the different irrigation methods that we use in horticulture crops. So introduction. Irrigation is the artificial application of water to the land or soil. So irrigation means normally we will apply the water to the soil, to the plants by artificial means. It is used to assist in the growing of agricultural crop, maintenance of landscapes, and revegetations of disturbed soil in dry areas, and during the period of inadequate rainfall. So normally we will apply the water, irrigate the crops to maintain the landscape, to maintain the plants and to grow the plants. And the soils where the water is not available to the plants, in that area we have to apply the water. Necessity of irrigation. Insufficient rainfall. Sometimes what will happen, in some area the rainfall is very less, in some area the rainfall is very high. So in some area where the rainfall is very less, in that area we have to apply the water artificially. That is called as artificially. We have to apply with the help of drip irrigation or any flood irrigation or any other method of irrigation we will use. Uneven distribution of rainfall. Sometimes when the crop is required the water, that time the water is not available. Means some crop they require the water at a particular time only. That time if rainfall is not there, so the water is not available to the plant. So that time what we have to do, we have to go for artificial irrigation. Improvement of perennial crops. So perennial crop means continuously we have to apply the water to the perennial crops. So in that also they means artificial water will improve the perennial crops. Development of agriculture in desert area. So in desert area where the water is not available, where the scarcity of water is there, in that area also if we apply the artificial water, with the help of artificial water we can grow the crops. Benefits of irrigation. Irrigation increase in crop yield. It will increase the crop yield. Protection from the famine. So if there is any famine is there, it will protect from the famine. Cultivation of superior crop. So some superior crop, hybrid crop, they require the more irrigations. So that we can't grow in normal areas. Normal area, if the rainfall is not there, the crop will not grow. So if we grow the crops in an area where the artificial water is sufficiently available, so it will increase the quality, increase the yield. Elimination of mixed cropping. Economic development, it will increase the economic, it will increase the yield, because due to the scarcity of water, the plant will die, the crop will die. So if we apply the artificial water, we will get the yield. Hydropower generation. With the help of irrigation water, we can develop the power also. We can generate the electricity with the help of by the rotating the world. Domestic and industrial water supply. So water means we can supply the water to the domestic and industrial area. Effect of irrigation. Rising of water table. If we apply the irrigations, it will increase the water level in the soil. Formation of marshy land. Continuously apply of water means it will create the marshy land. Dampness in weather. The weather conditions will be changed. Loss of valuable lands. So sometime due to the high irrigation and fertilizers, the land will be lost. So if the water is not available, then also we can't use that land. So sometimes due to the scarcity of water, we can't utilize the complete land. Methods of irrigation. So different methods we use for irrigation. First method is surface irrigation. Surface irrigation means uncontrolled or the wild or free flooding methods. So normally in this we have to flood the water into the field. Simply we will flood the water into the field. We have no control and we will not have the, according to the requirements of the plants, we will flood the water. Border strip methods. Check Check method means Basin method, we have to prepare the basin, and in that we apply. Furrow method, we will prepare the furrow, and in that we have to apply the water. Subsurface irrigation, on the subsurface area of the soil we have to apply the water. Sprinkler irrigation, with the help of sprinklers we have to apply the water. Drip irrigation is the best method of irrigation. Bund irrigation we can see. First one is surface irrigation. In all the surface method of irrigation, water is either ponded on the soil or allowed to flow continuously over the soil surface for a duration of irrigation. Means we will flood the water into the soil. Simply we will go for flooding of the water into the soil, and continuously we will apply the water till the soil will be completely wet. It does not result in higher level of performance. This is mainly because of uncertain infiltration rates, which are affected by the year-to-year change in the cropping pattern. So sometimes what will happen, we are applying the water, simply we are applying the water, we are not applying the water according to the crop requirement. So if like this, if we apply the water, so it will affect the infiltration rate year by year and change in the cropping pattern. The cultivation practice, climatic factors, and many other factors. So many other means these factors will be affect due to the surface irrigation method. Second one is uncontrolled flooding. When water is applied to the crop land without any preparation of land and without any leaves to guide or restrict the flow of water on the field. The method is called uncontrolled, wild, or free flooding. So normally freely we will flood the field. So uncertainly we apply the water. Uncontrolled flooding generally result in excess irrigation at the inlet region of the field. So uncontrolled flooding means what will happen, in some area is upper part is there in field, some area is lower part is there in the field. In lower parts the more water will go, in upper part the less water will be. Then what will happen, some area will be water is more, some area water is less. The insufficient irrigation at the outland end. And so it will the irrigation water is not available for the whole crop same quantity. Efficiency is reduced because of either deep percolation. In this, the deep percolation is there, means water will be percolate to the lower parts of the soil. So it will reduce the efficiency of water to the crop, flowing away of water from the field. The advantage of this method is low initial cost of land preparation. So if we apply the uncontrolled flooding method, the advantage of this is it is a low initial cost of land preparation. Border strip method. Border strip irrigation or simple border irrigation is a controlled surface flooding method of applying irrigation water. So in this we have to apply the water in controlled condition. In this method, the farm is divided into number of strips. Border strip method, in this what we have to do, we will divide the farm into the strips, and these strips are separated by the low leaves or borders, and we have the complete farm. That complete farm we have to divide it into the strips, like small strips we have to divide, or we can prepare the borders, and in that borders we have to apply the water. This border strip method is suited to the soil of moderately low to moderately high intact rates and low erodibility. So normally this border strip method is normally suitable for the soil with a moderately low to moderately high intact rates. This method, however, requires the preparation of land involving high initial cost. So in this method, we have to prepare the field. In uncontrolled flooding method, we are not preparing the any field. Simply we are applying the water. But in border strip method, we have to prepare the field. We have to prepare the small strip. So it required the preparation of land, means it required a high initial cost, means we have to divide the field into the different areas, and according to that we have to apply the water. This is channels we have to make like this. We have to make the channels, and in these channels we have to apply the water. So this is called as border strip method of irrigation. Check method. Check method of irrigation is based on rapid application of irrigation water to a level or the nearly level areas completely enclosed by the dikes. In this method, the entire field is divided into a number of almost leveled plots compartments for the carries. So complete field in check basin method, what we have to do? We have to divide the complete form into the carries. Carries we have to make small carries we have to make, or we have to divide the plant into the small plots according to the levels. High levels, low level hill soil is there. According to that, we will divide the complete land into the carries or plots. This method is suitable for a wide range of soil, ranging from very permeable to the heavy soil. So check method, normally we will use this method for the all type of soils. Normally heavy soils also we can use, for permeable soils also we can use the check method. Loss of water through deep percolation near the supply ditch and the surface runoff can be minimized, and adequate irrigation of the entire farm can be achieved. So in this method, loss of water is very less, and if the deep percolation loss is very less, because we are making the carries, and how much water is required for that particular crop, that much water only we are applying. We are not applying the extra water. Irrigation of the entire farm can be achieved. In this method, we can irrigate the complete farm. The application efficiency is higher for this method. In this method, the application efficiency higher, we can save the water also. There is some losses of cultivable areas which is occupied by the leaves. So some area which are we are preparing the carries in, so if we are making the carries in that, some area will be lost. So that is only the loss. Otherwise, it is a good method. So like this, in this method, we have to make the carries like terrace 1, terrace 2, terrace 3, like this carries we have to make. And this is the intake of water. From this, the water will supply, and we will keep like this area. From this, the first bed, the water will apply first carry, second carry, and third carry. So like this, we have to apply the water. So this is the permanent bund. This permanent bund we have to make from the both side of the field, and that permanent bend. This is the permanent bend, both side. From this permanent bend, in this continuously water will supply. From this, if in this carry, if the water is required, then we will fill this permanent bend, and we will apply. We will, with the help of this carries, we have to remove the soil from here, and we will apply the water here. Then in this, then in this, like this, we have to apply the water. These are the temporary bund we have to make. Why we make this temporary bund? Temporary bund normally we make to differentiate the first carry and second carry. Means first plot and second plot, to differentiate the first plot and second plot, we will make these carries, and from this intake we have to supply the water. The water will come from the first, then we will open this and it will come to second, then we open it and it will come to the third. Temporary band is prepared from all sides. So what I told you, na soil loss. The soil loss is only this one is the soil loss. We are making the bunds. So this soil loss will be there. Otherwise, it will give the best yield, and the loss of the water is also very less. So this is the flow direction of the field. So from we have to prepare the bunds from upper area to the lower area. So from the upper area, the water will come to the lower area. When this plot is filled, then we close this plot, then second plot we will fill, then second plot will fill, that time we will close the second and third last question. So like this we have to apply the water. So this is the good method. So you can see in diagram how we can apply the water in method, how we can divide the complete field into the plots, and then we will apply the water. So this method normally in rice field this method is used, and in vegetable crops also we will use this method. Basin method. So in basin method, what we have to do? We have to prepare the basin around the plants. So it is mainly used for the perennial plants. Like all fruit crops, we can use the basin method, or all the perennial plant, forest plant, we can use the basin method. In this, we have to prepare a round basin near to the plants. Plant stem we have to prepare the like this basin we have to prepare, and in this basin we have to apply the water. So this is the basin method. Next is furrow method. An alternative to the flooding the entire land surface is to construct small channels along the primary direction of the movement of water and letting water flow though these channels, which are termed as furrow or creates or corrugation. So in furrow method, normally what we have to do, we have to prepare the furrows. So like this is the furrows. This is like this furrows we have to prepare. The furrow necessitates the wetting of the only about half of the one-fifth of the field surface. So it will only the one-fifth of the field surface will be wet. This reduces the evaporation losses considerably. The evaporation losses will be reduced in furrow method. Furrow provides the better on-farm water management. It is a good on-farm water management practice capabilities for most of the surface irrigation conditions and variable and serve topographical condition. Possibility of increased erosion. It is a possibility to increase the erosion. We can reduce the soil erosion. So sometime what will happen, the when the water we apply the water, if the water will go outside of the field, so with the water the soil will also go outside. So that is called the, due to that the soil will be lost. Means the normally the upper surface of the soil is fertile and the lower surface of the, whenever we go to the lower surface, the fertility rate of the soil will be reduced. So if when we apply the water due to the flood irrigation method, the upper surface of the soil will also go with water from the one field to the another field. So the whatever the nutrient soil is there, that will go to the another field. So that is called as soil erosion. So in this method, in furrow method, the soil erosion is not there because we are preparing the bunds in the, means one bed we are preparing, then we are preparing one bund, then one field, then. So the loss of water is very less, and according to the requirements of the plant, we have to apply the water. Possibility to increase the erosions. Furrow irrigation requires more labor than any other surface method of irrigation. Because we are like this, we are preparing the furrow. So first we have to prepare the beds. For that also we require the labors. After that, like this furrows we are preparing. For preparation of this furrows also, we have to require the labors, and we have to open the furrows whenever the water is not there in that furrow. That time we have to open the furrow, then we have to close the furrow. So for that we require the more number of labors. It is a labor intensive method. Next is subsurface irrigation method. The subsurface irrigation or simple subsurface irrigation or simple sub irrigation is a practice of applying water to the soil directly under the surface. Means directly we will apply the water in the surface. The moisture reaches the plant roots. Means in this what will happen? The moisture is there that will directly reach into the plant surface. Means directly we will apply the water on the near to the plant on the surface of the plant, so it will be directly reach to the plant surface through the capillary action. The condition which favors subsurface irrigation are follows. In impervious subsoils at a depth of 2 meter or more. So normally we will apply the subsurface water 2 meter or more. A very permeable subsoil, very permeable subsoil, a permeable loamy or sandy loamy surface soil. So it is mainly used for the sandy loamy surface soil. We can use uniform topography conditions. So wherever we use the surface irrigation method, we will check there is a uniform topography. If uneven topography is there, then surface irrigation method is not suitable. Moderate ground slopes. The ground slope will be very less. Moderate slopes are there. Then only the surface irrigation method is suitable. Next is sprinkler irrigation method. So sprinkler is the method of applying the water to the soil surface in the form of spray. which is somewhat similar to the rain. So sprinkler irrigation means we have to apply the water with the help of spray. Means spray, we will spray the water on the plant. So it is same like the rains. If the rains will come, the rain will come like that. Same is a sprinkler method of irrigation. Rotating sprinkler head system are commonly used for the sprinkler irrigation. So when we apply the water, the sprinkler will be rotate. So that type sprinkler will rotate so that the water will be not stagnate in one place only. If the sprinkler will not rotate, then in one place only the amount of water will be sprinkled more. And if continuously we will change that. So we will use the rotating sprinklers. Each rotating sprinkler head applies a water to a given area, the size of which is governed by the nozzle size and the water pressure. So we will check the nozzle size and water pressure. According to that, the area, it will cover the area. If the water pressure will be more, then it will cover the more area. If the water pressure is less, then it will cover the less area. Alternatively, perforated pipes can be used to deliver the water. So we can use the perforated pipes also to deliver the water through a very small holes, which are drilled at close intervals along a segment of the circumference of a pipe. Sprinklers have been used on all types of soils on the lands of different topography and slopes. So sprinkler irrigation is suitable for the all topography. Means sprinkler irrigation we can use on the hilly areas, in semi-hilly areas, and the lower areas also we can use. It is suitable for all areas. It is used in slopy areas or any hilly areas also. And for many crops, the following conditions are favorable for the sprinkler irrigations. The very previous soil which do not permit good distribution of water by the surface method. In some soil what will happen, the surface method we can't distribute the water evenly. So in that crops we can go for sprinkler method of irrigation. Land which have steep slopes are easily erodible soils. So normally we can use for the steep soils also we can use. Steep slopes soil also we can use. Irrigation channels which are too small to distribute water efficiently by surface irrigation. In some time what will happen if we use the irrigation method in that it is very small. We can't supply the water continuously. Lands with shallow soils and undulating lands which prevent the proper leveling required for the surface method of irrigation. In undulating soil in hilly areas, everywhere we can use the sprinkler method of irrigation. So this is the sprinkler method of irrigation. So this is the pump. From this pump we have to, this is the sub main line. So this is the main line. This is the main line. So this is called as main line. This is the main line. From this main line the sub lines will come. So that is called the sub main line. And this is the gate wall. From that wall we will open the water. Pressure control value, there is the pressure control value, and this is the, from there this is the sprinklers. From this sprinkler the water will be sprayed. So this is the sub main line and this is the sub line, and this is the pump. From the pump we have to supply the water, and this is the walls. From walls we will control the pressures, and this is the sprinkler, and from this we have to apply the water. This is sprinklers. From that the water will be sprinklered. This is about the sprinkler method of irrigation. So this sprinkler we can establish in any areas, in any field, even in hilly areas, in slopy areas, and in low hill areas. Everywhere this method is suitable. Sprinkler. Advantage: low water loss. In this the water loss will be lost. The efficiency is up to 80%. By sprinkler method of irrigation, efficiency is 80%. Saving in fertilizers. So we will save the fertilizers also in sprinkler, suitable for any topography. No soil erosion. The soil erosion will be not there. It is suitable for any topography. Better seed germination. The water will be uniformly distributed. The germination will be good, and the water will be good. Every plant will get the same amount of water. Free aeration for the root zones. Uniform application of water. So uniformly water will distribute, and the free means aeration for the zones, root zones also the air will be easily available. Better seed germination. Disadvantage. High initial cost. So whenever we go for establishment of sprinkler irrigation, the initial cost is very high, cannot adopt by the ordinary farmers. So means the farmers which have the low land, small land, or which not have the so much of money that farmers can't afford this sprinkler irrigation. Poor application efficiency in windy weathers and high temperature. If the windy weathers are there, if the temperature is more is there, windy weather means if the winds are there, so wind will pass. If the with the help of winds, the water will also go with the wind, so it will be not uniformly distributed. And if the temperature is more, then the evaporation loss will be more. High evaporation loss is there. The sprinkler will run with the when the sprinkler will run, then the water droplets are very small. With the help of high temperature, it will get evaporate. High evaporation losses. Water should be free for debris. Physical damage to the crop by application of high intensity spray. If we when we go for sprinkler irrigation, and at the time when the complete means the irrigation will complete, that time if we not close, so it will affect the physical damage to the crop. It will cause the physical damage to the crop also. Next one is sprinkler or drip irrigation. So this is the best method of irrigation. It have the efficiency is 90 to 96% water use efficiency is there. So it will directly the water will be available to the root zone of the plants with the help of drops. The sprinkler irrigation system comprise of mainline, sub-main, laterals, valves to control the flow, drippers or the emitters, pressure gauge, water meter, filters, pump, fertilizer tank, vacuum breakers, and pressure regulators. So these all are whenever we go for establishment of drip irrigation, these all will. The drippers are designed to supply the water at the desired rate, 1 to 10 liters per hour. With the help of drippers, we will supply the water, and the rate of supply of water is 1 to 10 liters per hour. Directly to the soil, low pressure heads at the emitters are considered adequate as the soil capillary forces causes the emitted water to spread the lateral and vertical. So normally with the help of drippers the water will supply. The water use efficiency of drip irrigation method is 1 to 10 liter per hour. The 1 to 10 liter per hour, and the water will be directly available to the soil or the near to the root zone of the plant. And when the water will drop into the soil, it will be sprayed. This is the sprinkler irrigation method sketch we can see. So in this we can see this is the pump. From this pump we have to supply the water. After that this is the gate valves. So gate valves we have when we open the valves the water will supply. This is the pressure regulators, means how much we have to regulate the pressure, how much pressures we have to apply. Then this is a nutrient tank. So with the help of this drip irrigation, we can apply the nutrients also. This is the nutrient tank. In this nutrient tank, we will fill the water soluble nutrients, and that nutrients will supply with the water to the plants. And this is called as fertigation. We will apply the fertilizers with the water. That's why it is called as fertigation. So we will fill the nutrient in this, and with the water, these nutrients will be supplied. This is the filter. From the filter, the water will be get filters. This is the pressure controller. From this, we have to control the pressures for the main line. Means if we increase the pressure, the water will supply fast. If we reduce the pressure, the water will supply. The pressure of the water will be less. So this is the main line. From this main line, this is the sub line. This is the sub line. This is the main line, and these are the sub line. This is the gate wall. So gate wall is here. From this gate wall, the water will this gate wall we can open and close. From this, the water will supply. From this, it will go to the these are laterals. 1, 2, 3, 4. So these all are called as laterals. So this is the subline. From this subline, the laterals will go. The laterals will go to the field, and wherever the laterals will go to the field, and we will the emitters will open to the near to the plant. Wherever the emitters are there, from that only we will plant the plant. We will plant to grow the plant. So here the plants will grow, and the emitters, when the water will supply into the laterals, the emitters will be open. and the emitters will be open, then the water will be come out and it will fall on the surface of the plant, means root surface of the plant, and it will be directly available to the roots of the plants. Sublateral roots, when the water will come into this area, it will make the sublateral roots, means in a round zone the water will be supplied to the plants. So this is a multi-outlet distributors we can use. From this only one line we can distribute the water in multi-ways. Porous pipes, these are the pipes we are using, that is the porous pipes we are using. So this is the flow chart for the drip irrigation system. So the major component of this is, one is pump. From pump the water will supply. Then the nutrient tank is there. From that nutrient tank we have to apply the nutrient to the plants. Then filter is there. From that filter the water will get filtered, and after filtration of the water it will go to the main line. From the main line is divided into the sub line. So the water will from main line it will go to the sub main line. From sub main line it will go to the laterals. From the laterals, that laterals will be directly go into the plants. In laterals, the emitters are there. From that emitters, the water will be reached to the surface of the roots of the plants, and it will be spread like this. It will make the loops, round loops will make when it will go to the plant. Next is advantage of drip irrigation. The low water loss, hence it saves the water. The water loss will be less, so it will save the water, enhance the plant growth and plant yield. So the water is directly available to the root zone of the plant, so it will increase the plant growth and total production. It will save the labor and energy. So if we establish the drip irrigation method of irrigation, it will save the labor. Means it not required a labor, so much of labor, the water will supply automatically from the emitters and from the main line and sub main line. Control the weed growth. So the water is available to the root zone of the plant. So another area the water is not available. So if water is not there, then weed will not grow. So it will control the weed growth. No soil erosion. So boond water will go. So soil erosion will be not there. It will improve the fertilizer application efficiency, because we will apply the water, we will apply the fertilizer, water soluble fertilizers we will mix into the nutrient tank, and we will apply the water with the, we will apply the fertilizer with the water, that is called as fertigation. Fertigation means we will apply the fertilizers with the water only. So then when the water will go in that, then what will happen, it will available, the fertilizers is directly available to the plant itself. So it will improve the fertilizer application efficiency. Disadvantage: the high skill is design. Normally, the high skill labors are required. So disadvantage: high skill is design. So for this, we require the high skill labors, installation, and subsequent operations. Clogging of small conducts and opening in emitters due to the sand. So sometime what will happen, the soils will enter into the emitters, and the emitters will be, the water will be not available to the plant. The cell will and the sand will enter into the emitter. Some clay particles, debris, chemicals precipitate. Sometimes we apply the chemicals, that chemicals will be precipitate in the pipe itself, and the sometimes the pipe will be blocked. The clogging of the pipe will be occurs. So that is also, it will cause the organic growth is there, so that will all will cause the clogging of the pipes, and the water will not supply. It is not suitable for the closely planted crops, because there is some distance between the one emitter to the another emitters. So if the crop we are growing in very closely, like vegetable crops we are growing very close, So in that it is not suitable. It is only suitable for the hilly. It's normally suitable for the. It is more suitable for the fruit plants and some long distance crops. Not suitable for the wheat and other cereal grains. In tomato and all, it is suitable in greenhouse condition. Quality of irrigation water. Irrigation water The irrigation water must not have the direct or indirect undesirable effect on the health of human beings, animals and plants. The irrigation water must not damage the soil and not endanger the quality of surface and groundwater with which it comes into contact. The presence of toxic substances in irrigation water may threaten the vegetation besides the degrading the suitability of the soil for the future cultivation. Sometimes what will happen, whatever the water we apply, that heavy waters are there in some where the water is very high, heavy, in that some metals are there, or sometimes the water is have the more quantity of salty water is there, in that more salt is there. So that type of water if we apply, so what will happen, it will reduce the quality of the soil. The presence of toxic substance in the irrigation water may threaten the vegetation beside degrading the suitability of the soil for the future cultivation. Like toxic substances are present in the soil, that will also reduce the quality of the soil. Surface water, groundwater and suitability treats wastewater are generally used for the irrigation purpose. Now, if you use the wastewater, it will reduce the quality. The various type of impurities which make the water unfit for the irrigation are classified as sediment concentration in water, total concentration of soluble salts in water. The total soluble salts are more in water. Proportion of sodium ions to the other ions. Sometimes the sodium ions are more in water as compared to the other ion. Concentration of potentially toxic elements, pressure in water. The bacterial contamination. Sometimes what will happen? The bacterial contamination will be occurs in the soil, water. So that water if we apply, then it will be affect the soil, quality of the soil. So this is all about the methods of irrigation. In last class, we discussed the harvesting, grading, packaging, and post-harvest practices. So in this harvesting, we are already discussed when to harvest the horticulture crop. This also we are discussed the time of harvesting. Post-harvest handling, we are already discussed how we handle the fruits and vegetables after harvesting of the fruits. Then grading and sorting and sizing. So grading is also we are discussed. Additional operation we are discussing. In additional operation, pre-cooling we have already discussed in last class. Pre-cooling, it has three types I told you: air cooling, hydro cooling, and vacuum cooling. Vacuum cooling is mainly used for the vegetable crops. Hydro cooling means we will degreening, in certain cases development of ripe color by degrading the green colors is induced usually by the treatment with ethylene. So sometime in case of banana and mango, we will harvest the unripe fruits. We will harvest the green fruits. After that, we will apply the ethylene and the fruit color will change into the yellow color. Means the ripening of the fruits will be start. Waxing. So to improve the quality of the produce, to improve the quality of the fruits and vegetables, we will go to the coating of the fruits and vegetables with the help of wax. So if we go for coating of the fruits with the wax, then it will improve the quality of the produce and we can store it for the longer period of the time, because due to the wax coating of the outer surface of the fruits, the sunlight will be directly not affect to the fruit, the moisture content will be remain in that and the respiration process will be reduced. So it will increase the storage life and the quality of the produce. So different waxes we use, like Waxol 123, it is developed by the Meshoot. It is mainly used for the fruits and vegetable. Edible wax is coming in market and non-edible waxes is also coming in market. Packaging. So according to the crops, we have to choose the packaging materials. Like some we are using a gunny bags, some plastic bags, plastic carrots we are using, some polythene sheets, we are polythene bags we are using. So that is the depends on the which product we are going for packaging and how much quantity we are storing that. It is depends on that. So if we want to store them for the longer period of the time, according to that we will use the packaging materials, and according to that we have to make the temperature of the packaging house. If you are going for storage in the refrigerator, that time we use the different packaging materials. If we are selling into the market, that time we use the different type of packaging materials. Benefits of packaging. So this already we have discussed. Materials of packaging, I told you, like polythenes we can use, polyphenol we can use, film we use. So consumer packaging with plastic. The original functions of packaging was to contain and carry and dispense product. However, the use of plastic as a packaging material has allowed so much variations and versatility as to protect, presence and process, store measures, communicate and display of product. The fruits and vegetables are packed in a smaller quantity in a polythene pouches. If the fruits and vegetables are small, then we will pack into the pouches and the consumer packs. In these films, the proper ventilation is needed to prevent the moisture accumulation, leading to the rotting of the content and to relegate the oxygen and CO2 concentration. To maintain the oxygen CO2 concentration. High CO2 concentration may cause the deterioration in quality of the content. Congenial modified atmosphere inside the pack would increase the storage life of the content. Pre-packaging: The pre-packaging increases the shelf life by creating the modified atmosphere with an increase in concentration of CO2 in the package. So pre-packaging, what we have to do, we have to pack the fruits and vegetables in plastic bags, and in that we have to increase the concentration of CO2. So the oxygen is not available. So the oxygen is not available, then the respiration process will be stopped, and we can store them for the longer period of the time. The pouch used to reducing the bruising facilities. Inspection reduces the moisture loss and prevent the dehydration. In pre-packaging, the leaves, stalk, stem are washed, cleaned, and wet quantities are put in pouch. Ethylene absorbents hydrates lime may insert in the package to retard the ripening process. A wide range of packages like gunny bags, bamboo, grass stem basket, wooden carriers, earthen pots, corrugated fiber box curtains are used for the packaging. Wheat and paddy straw, banana leaves, dry grasses are used as a cushioning materials. Storage: Storage of fruits and vegetables for a prolonged time. It is also check the market health and provide the wide selection of fruits and vegetables. Though the year that it helps to the ordinarily marketing, increase the profits to the producers and prevent the quality of the living products. The principal aim of storage is to control the rate of respiration and disease infection, and to preserve the commodity in its most usable form of consumer without the proper storage. Sprouting: Sometime when we go for storage, the sprouting is the major problem in onion, ginger, garlic. So to reduce this, we can use the malic hydrazide. So malic hydrazide is used to reduce the sprouting in onion, ginger, garlic, and potatoes. Rooting: like in sweet potato and onion, the rooting will be start. Seed germination: like pod-bearing vegetables like tomato, papaya, the seeds will start germinate. Degreening: like in potatoes, exposed to the light, the green portion will be contain the solanine, and that is toxic to the human beings. Toughening: like green beans and bhindi, the toughening will be occurs. Factor affecting the storage: pre-harvest factors like climate, cultural, and pathogenic factor. Harvesting and handling practices like mechanical injuries. When we go for harvesting, when we go for transportation of the fruits and vegetable, that time there is a cause of mechanical injuries. Pre-cooling: an important factor prior to the storage. It will reduce the PLW and improve the storage life. Physiological loss in weight, and it will increase the storage life. Varieties and stage of maturity at harvest: prematurely harvested mangoes, bananas, tomato will not ripe satisfactory level. Storage life it may be prolonged by the proper control of post-harvest disease and chemical treatment, irradiation, refrigeration, and controlled atmospheric storage. So, how we can increase the storage life? With the help of proper control of post-harvest disease, chemical treatments, irradiation, refrigeration, and controlled atmospheric storage we can use. Proper control of post-harvest disease. So how we can go for controlling of the post-harvest disease? So many diseases which are injuries which are occurs when we go for storage of the fruits. So sometime when we harvest the vegetables or fruits, that time they will cause the damage. So any damaged fruits if we store into the other fruits, so that will cause the disease and it will be spread to the all containers. So like this will be occurs like in case of stem and root of papaya and mango, black root of pineapple, crown root of banana. Cut infection. When we harvest the fruit, that time if any cuts will occur, so this type of disease will be spread. Post-harvest disease initiated in wounds created during the harvesting may control by the fungicide treatment. So we will go for treatment of the fruits with the fungicides to control this. Control of post-harvest disease: the basic principles are prevention, cure, and delaying the appearance of symptoms and retarding the disease spread. More than one approach is usually required for the satisfactory disease control. Chemical treatment: the growth regulators like GA, malic hydrazide, LR, and other chemicals like acetylene gas, ethylene gas, and used to regulate the ripening and storage life of the fruits and vegetables. The post-harvest treatment with GA markedly retards the ripening of tomatoes, guava, banana, and mangoes. Malic hydrazide is a growth retardant. It will inhibit the sprouting in onion, potato, ethylene. It will hasten the ripening of fruits. Irradiation, we can go for expose the fruits to the irradiation. Irradiation, low radiant dosage is applied to the fresh fruits and vegetables to prolong their storage life. The irradiation can be delay the ripening, destruction of the spoilage, microorganisms, and disinfection. It has been used for the successful in retarding the sprouting of potatoes, sweet potatoes, onion. Irradiation is used to control the fruit fly on citrus, mango seed weevil control, and papaya fruit fly. And we can control with the help of irradiation. Refrigeration. So refrigeration is only non-economical method for the long-term storage of fruits and vegetables. All the other methods of regulating the ripening and deterioration are not best supplement for the refrigeration. Other methods are not work satisfactory without the refrigeration. Chilling injuries: so a major problem in post-harvest handling at low temperatures which otherwise would be prolong the storage life. Chilling injury is a disorder induced by the low but non-freezing temperature in susceptible fruit and vegetables. Eating lime, mangoes, and avocado. Water soaking in tomatoes, smoky appearance in banana, and surface discoloration in mango. Biochemical changes in seeds during the storage: it will increase or decrease the enzyme activity, decrease in oxygen uptake, increase the leaching of organic and inorganic constituents of seeds, increase in free fatty acid, decrease in total soluble sugars, increase in reducing sugar and decrease the total soluble sugar, decrease in protein and increase in amino acid, change in the carbohydrate, organic acid, and protein metabolism. This is all about this. Thank you. Thank you all.